Hi friends, so today we're going to be learning how to use the Spanish verb haber. By the end of this video, we'll be able to say things like I've never been in jail, or by the time the FBI noticed, we had already sent all the money to the Cayman Islands. And also some more normal things like I have never been to Rome or I had already eaten. So basically we're going to learn how to use two different compound tenses, and then at the end of the video we'll talk about how these tenses are kind of a tense within a tense. So make sure you watch the whole video. Let's do it. Okay, so we use the verb haber to form the compound tenses along with the past participle. Just like in English, we use the verb to have as an auxiliary verb without using it with its original meaning of possession, as in I have a car, meaning I own a car, right? It's very different saying I have a car, which means I own a car, from saying I have gone to this place or I have driven, right? In that case, have is being used as an auxiliary verb. The verb that we're actually using is go for I have gone, or drive for I have driven. So I have plus past participle, I have been, you have taken, etc. In Spanish, the equivalent is yo he plus participio, which is the past participle, and it's called participio or participio pasado. It's the same thing. So it says los tiempos verbales equivalentes al present perfect, that's the name of this tense in English, I have been, I have driven, I have taken, etc. Y al past perfect, which is the same but with I had done something before I did this other thing, se llaman en español pretérito perfecto compuesto y pretérito pluscuamperfecto respectivamente. In English, the equivalent verb tenses to the present perfect, I have plus participle, and to the past perfect, I had plus participle, are called in Spanish pretérito perfecto compuesto and pretérito pluscuamperfecto respectively. The names are kind of crazy. In English, right, present perfect, past perfect makes a lot of sense. They could be called in Spanish presente perfecto, pasado perfecto, but they aren't. They happen to be called pretérito perfecto compuesto for present perfect and pretérito pluscuamperfecto for past perfect. So it says, aquí tenemos un modelo usando el verbo manejar, to drive. El participio del verbo manejar, driven en inglés, es manejado en español. Para formar estos tiempos verbales, conjugamos el verbo auxiliar haber y ponemos el participio del verbo que queremos usar, manejar en este caso, a continuación. In English, here we have a model using the verb manejar, to drive. The participle of the verb manejar, driven in English, is manejado in Spanish. To form these verb tenses, we conjugate the auxiliary verb haber, and we place the participle of the verb we want to use, in this case manejar, to drive, right after. As a side note, just in English, participles, some of them, they match the past tense. For example, work, the past tense is worked. I worked last week. The participle is also worked. I have worked in this place for many years. With other verbs like drive, the past tense and the participle are different. I drove last week, but I have driven. Same for go. I went, I have gone. I did, I have done. But for example, for walk, it's regular, right? I walked, I have walked. So, pretérito perfecto compuesto, present perfect in English. This is how we conjugate it. So we conjugate this verb haber in the present tense. We'll talk about it later because it's kind of a tense within a tense. And then we add the past participle of manejar in this case. So I have driven, he manejado. You have driven, has manejado. He or she has driven, ha manejado. We have driven, hemos manejado. You all have driven, habéis manejado. They have driven, han manejado. So we are basically conjugating haber in the present tense, so that's he, has, ha, hemos, habéis, han, and then we add the participle, manejado, 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 right, for all of them. So this is the equivalent of I have, you have, he or she has, when using have in English as an auxiliary verb. If we are using have as in to own something, the Spanish equivalent would be tener, right? So I have a car, tengo un coche. But I have driven, he manejado. And the pretérito pluscuamperfecto, the past perfect, this one is I had driven. Not I have driven, but I had driven. So for that, we conjugate haber in the imperfect tense, and then we add manejado, the participle. So haber in the imperfect tense is había, habías, había, habíamos, habíais, habían. And then we add manejado, the past participle. So I had driven, había manejado. You had driven, habías manejado. He or she had driven, había manejado. We had driven, habíamos manejado. You all had driven, habíais manejado. They had driven, habían manejado. So how does this translate? It's basically like in English. So it says in Spanish here, el pretérito perfecto compuesto se traduce como I have driven, you have driven, etc. El pretérito pluscuamperfecto se traduce como I had driven, you had driven, etc. So the pretérito perfecto compuesto translates as I have driven. The pluscuamperfecto translates as I had driven. They are basically the same thing, and we use them in the same way. We'll talk about how we use them in a second. So it says, en español es importante no romper nunca el núcleo verbal. No podemos poner nada entre el verbo haber y el participio. En inglés, I have always driven. Always is between have and driven. I have not driven, etc. En español, yo siempre he manejado. Yo no he manejado. There's nothing between he and manejado. Right? So it says in Spanish, it is important in order to break the verbal nucleus, we cannot put anything between the verb haber and the participle. In English, I have always driven. In Spanish, yo siempre he manejado. We can have, there can't be anything in here. They have to go together, the he and the manejado. Let's talk about the participle, el participio. So we do the following to form it. For verbs ending in AR, we just add the suffix ado to the root of the verb. So for cantar, to sing, cantado is the participle. For terminar, to finish, terminado is the participle. And for verbs ending in ER and IR, we add ido instead of ado. So comer, the participle eaten, comido. For vivir, vivido. Here are some examples. So I have lived in New York for 7 years. Yo he vivido en Nueva York por 7 años. Or we would also say 7 años without the por. Yo nunca he cantado en un escenario. I have never sung on a stage. Have you finished the homework? ¿Has terminado la tarea? It's 3 and I haven't eaten yet, or I still haven't eaten. Son las 3 y todavía no he comido, right? And how do we use these verbs? So basically, it's the same in English and in Spanish. So it says in Spanish, el uso de los tiempos compuestos es muy similar al inglés en sus dos versiones. El pretérito perfecto compuesto, yo he manejado, equivale al present perfect, I have driven, it's the same thing. El pretérito pluscuamperfecto, yo había manejado, equivale al past perfect, I had driven. So the use of the tenses is very similar. The pretérito perfecto compuesto is equivalent to the present perfect. Yo he manejado, I have driven. And the pretérito pluscuamperfecto is equivalent to the past perfect. Yo había manejado, I had driven. So let's see how we use them. So we use them in the same way in English and in Spanish. However, if English is your first language, you probably don't think about this. I have to actively think about it because English isn't my first language. I think it's pretty obvious, right? So when I use these tenses in English, I have to think about them. I have to think about the participle in English and how to form it. For you, if English is your first language, it's automatic. You say already, I have driven. But when I want to say that, I have to remember, when I was learning basically the past tense and the participle for all the irregular verbs, that drive goes drive, drove, driven, and take goes take, took, taken, right? And do goes do, did, done, etc. While for the regular verbs, the participle is the same as the past tense. Work, worked, worked. Okay? So how do we use them? We use the present perfect, the pretérito perfecto compuesto en español, for experience, for things that we've done in our life up to this point, or that we have not done up to this point, right? Like experience in our life. So that is very different from saying, I went to Rome in 2005. If I say, I've never gone to Rome, or I've never been to Rome, that's like an experiential use. It's not like at a point in the past. It's like in my whole life experience up to today, up to this very moment. So I have never been to Rome. Yo nunca he estado en Roma. I have visited Madrid 3 times, like in my lifetime. Yo he visitado Madrid 3 veces. Very different from saying I visited Madrid this year and then I visited this other year. For that, in Spanish, we will also use the past tense, the pretérito perfecto simple. I visited, yo visité. But I have visited is experiential. It's like in my life up to this point. So, yo he visitado Madrid 3 veces. I have visited Madrid 3 times. María ha corrido 3 maratones. María has run 3 marathons. And the other use is for an action that started in the past and continues in the present. So I have lived in New York City for 3 months, and it's assumed that I still live in New York City. So he vivido en Nueva York por 3 meses. And this por, we would omit it most of the times. At least I would do that. He vivido en Nueva York 3 meses. He estado aquí todo el día. I have been here all day. And it's assumed that I'm still here. Estoy aquí. He estado aquí todo el día. And let's look at the other one, the pretérito pluscuamperfecto, the past perfect. Instead of I have driven or I have been, this is I had driven or I had been. So how do we use this in English or in Spanish? Let's think about it for a second. So this is basically a past within the past. So like in English, we use the compound past tenses to indicate that one action occurred before another. So when they offered me the position, or by the time they offered me the position, I had already accepted another job. Accepting the other job had already happened before this other thing happened in the past. So in a way, in the same way that the present perfect, I have been to Madrid 3 times, it's like experiential up to this point. This past perfect, the pretérito pluscuamperfecto in Spanish, is experiential, but up to a point in the past. In this case, the moment when they offered me the position, I had already done this other thing. Yo ya había aceptado otro trabajo. When Maria arrived at the office, that's our point of reference, I had already left. This thing had happened already before that other thing in the past. So, cuando María llegó a la oficina, yo ya había salido. And here we have a note. I'm going to read the English version. So it says, in some regions we use the pretérito perfecto compuesto to indicate recent past. Esta mañana he ido al mercado. Instead of saying esta mañana fui al mercado with the standard past tense. It says we recommend using the preterite for recent past, reserving the compound tenses for the specific uses described on this section only. I am from Madrid, so I actually do this, but I recommend people not to do it because it doesn't really make sense. If this morning I went to the supermarket, that's an isolated thing in the past. And even though in Madrid and in some regions of Spain, but not all, only in some regions, we would say this morning I have gone to the supermarket. In most places in Latin America and in some places in Spain, people would say, this morning I went to the supermarket. Esta mañana yo fui al supermercado. And that makes more sense because it's an isolated thing in the past. Even though it's recent past, it doesn't matter. So let's reserve these compound tenses for these uses. The present perfect, I have been, yo he estado, for life experience or for something that continues up to now, right? Like, I have been here all day, he estado aquí todo el día. And the past perfect or pluscuamperfecto for a thing that had already happened by the time this other action in the past happened. So, cuando la acción 2 ocurrió, when action 2 happened, la acción 1 ya había ocurrido. Action 1 had already happened. So let's talk about irregular participles in Spanish. So the participle for abrir is not abrido, which would be the regular form. It's abierto. So that's opened or open in English. Opened is the participle form. Open is the adjective form. We'll talk about that in a second. So for decir, it's not decido, it's dicho. So that's said or told, the participle. Escribir is not escribido, it's escrito. So actually, children, when they are learning Spanish, like as their first language, they tend to make mistakes with this because they tend to throw in the regular pattern. So instead of escrito, young children tend to say escribido, which is wrong. So hacer, done, is hecho. It's not hacido. Hacido doesn't exist. Hecho. For morir, muerto. Poner, puesto. Romper, roto. Ver, visto. So I have seen something. Yo he visto. Whatever. I had already seen something. Yo había visto. Whatever. And volver, vuelto. So let's talk about combining compound tenses with progressive tenses. We do this in English a lot. In Spanish, we do it slightly less, but it can be done, and sometimes we do it. So it says, as in English, in Spanish, we can combine compound tenses with progressive tenses. Instead of saying, I have driven, when we want to express more continuity, we can say, I have been driving. And in this case, we are using the verb to be in participle, been, and then the verb to drive now is in the gerund form, driving, not driven, driving. So in Spanish, we can do the same. Yo he manejado, that's I have driven, but I have been driving, yo he estado, estar, the participle is estado, and for progressive tenses, we have to use estar. We cannot use ser, so yo he estado manejando, driving. And it says we must remember that the progressive tenses in Spanish are always formed with the verb estar. I am speaking, yo estoy hablando. I have been speaking, yo he estado hablando. I have spoken, yo he hablado. I had spoken, yo había hablado. And what about I had been speaking, yo había estado hablando. Again, in English we use this quite a lot. In Spanish it's not that common. We tend to use the standard I had spoken, yo había hablado more. So, some examples. I have been eating for 2 hours. Yo he estado comiendo por 2 horas. And this por, we tend to omit it a lot. Yo he estado comiendo 2 horas. It sounds a little odd in Spanish. It's grammatical, it's fine, but it's not that common. But, you know, it's good to learn how to build it. So, I have been eating. Yo he estado comiendo. What about this one? I had been thinking about Sylvia for 3 hours when she finally called. Yo había estado pensando en Silvia por 3 horas cuando ella finalmente llamó. And let's talk about using the participle as an adjective. So both in English and in Spanish, many participles can be used as adjectives. So I have taken something, we are using it as a participle. It's part of the verb, of the present perfect in this case. I have taken it. But the seat is taken, now we are using it as an adjective. And in English, the verb to die and to open, we mentioned this one earlier, change their form when they are transformed into adjectives. In Spanish, this does not happen. So he has died, that's the participle form, but he is dead. I had opened that window, that's the participle form, but the window was open. So it happens with these two. So in Spanish, they don't change for the adjective form, but we have to adjust them in number and gender. Participles, when they are used in the verb, in the pretérito perfecto compuesto or the pluscuamperfecto, they don't match anything. It's I have driven and my gender or the number doesn't matter. Yo he manejado, nosotros hemos manejado, vosotras habéis manejado, it's manejado for everybody. But when we use it as an adjective, we have to match it with the noun. So, I have broken the window. Yo he roto la ventana. We are using roto from romper, that's an irregular participle. We are using it as a participle. But the window is broken. La ventana está rota. We match it with ventana, which is feminine. And there were many broken windows. Había muchas ventanas rotas. So let's do some exercises together. We have to translate these sentences. I have been dancing for 2 hours. It is slightly odd to say this in Spanish, but it's still grammatical. So this would be yo he estado bailando 2 horas or por 2 horas. I would say it without the preposition probably. Yo he estado bailando 2 horas. But yo he estado bailando por 2 horas. That's fine also. You have already told me this. Tú ya me has contado esto. And as a reminder, we can't have the ya between the has and the contado. They have to be together. I have been studying Spanish for more than 2 months. He estado estudiando español por más de 2 meses or just más de 2 meses. They have gone very far this time. Ellos han ido muy lejos esta vez. Do they know they have lost the game? ¿Saben que han perdido el juego o la partida? He has never been to Spain. We have to use en. So, él nunca ha estado en España. She has written 3 books. Ella ha escrito 3 libros. I have already completed the series at the gym. Ya he completado o terminado la serie en el gimnasio. Alicia has done many good things. Alicia ha hecho, the participle of hacer is hecho, muchas cosas buenas. I have lived with many different people. Yo he vivido con muchas personas diferentes o con mucha gente diferente. Gente is singular in Spanish, right? And I have always wanted to go to Paris. Siempre he querido ir a París. When you told me, careful with this one, I had already cancelled the appointment. And in English we have the already between had and cancel. We're going to have to move it out of the way. So, cuando tú me dijiste o me contaste, yo ya había cancelado la cita. Yo nunca he. Let's play this game. I've never. So, in Spanish it's called yo nunca he. And it's exactly the same thing. Things that I've never done in my life. So, en tu caso, ¿es verdad o es mentira? Yo nunca he tomado un avión. En mi caso, es mentira. Yo he tomado muchos aviones. Yo nunca he dormido en la playa. En mi caso, es verdad. Yo nunca he dormido en la playa. Prefiero los hoteles. Yo nunca he llegado más de 1 hora tarde a una reunión importante. Es verdad, a una reunión importante nunca he llegado muy tarde. Más de 1 hora tarde. No, nunca. Yo nunca me he duchado 3 veces en un día. Yo me he duchado 3 veces en un día. Yo nunca me he mareado en un barco. Yo sí, yo me he mareado en un barco. Marearse, a reflexive verb, to get dizzy or to become dizzy. Yo nunca he conocido a una persona famosa. Yo he conocido a algunas personas famosas, pero bueno, más o menos famosas, no súper famosas. Yo nunca he mentido a mis amigos. A ver, depende. Alguna mentira muy pequeña. Yo nunca he pagado tarde mi alquiler. Sí, yo creo que yo nunca he pagado tarde mi alquiler. Yo nunca he olvidado llamar a mi hermano o hermana en su cumpleaños. Sí, yo he olvidado llamar a mi hermana, pero la llamé al día siguiente, un día tarde. Yo nunca he tomado un taxi porque no quería caminar. Sí, yo he tomado taxis y Ubers porque no quería caminar, porque estaba muy cansado. Yo nunca he comido un Big Mac. Yo sí he comido un Big Mac, pero la última vez que comí un Big Mac fue hace muchos años, igual hace 10 años o más. Yo nunca he estado en Europa. Es mentira, yo vivo en Europa. Yo vivo en Madrid. Okay, so we're gonna skip these two and let's complete this one. So it says, be careful, when the participle is being used as an adjective, it must match the noun in gender and number. So, ¿dejaste la puerta de nuestra casa abierta? Nunca me habías dicho esto. Yo he escrito 2 novelas y un cuento. Nunca me he roto un hueso. ¿Has visto la película Casablanca? Nosotros no hemos hecho nada. La ventana está rota. Esa planta está muerta. Sara ya había escrito el mensaje a esa hora. And we have to conjugate volver en pretérito perfecto compuesto y en pretérito pluscuamperfecto. So, let's do pretérito perfecto compuesto, volver. Yo he vuelto, tú has vuelto, él, ella, usted ha vuelto, nosotros, nosotras hemos vuelto, vosotros, vosotras habéis vuelto, ellos, ellas, ustedes han vuelto. So that's pretérito perfecto compuesto, present perfect. And past perfect, pretérito pluscuamperfecto, yo había vuelto, tú habías vuelto, él, ella, usted había vuelto, nosotros, nosotras habíamos vuelto, vosotros, vosotras habíais vuelto, ellos, ellas, ustedes habían vuelto. So in English we have a future perfect. Do we have a future, like a compound future, an equivalent of the future perfect in Spanish? So we do, but there is a little problem. So it says, let me read the English part. So with a very similar usage to the past perfect, we can build in Spanish a compound future tense, equivalent to the future perfect in English. I will have driven, I will have done, etc. As in English, we use this tense to indicate that one action in the future is going to happen and end before another. So it's basically similar to the pluscuamperfecto, the past perfect, but the anchor now is an event in the future. So by the time this happens in the future, this other thing will have happened. So we have this tense in Spanish. So by the time Juan gets here, I will have already finished my essay. The problem is that the action that happens second, by the time Juan gets here, needs to use the subjunctive mood, which will be seen in volume 5. Basically, it's out of the scope of this video. So for now, we are going to ignore this tense. However, if you see it, it looks like this. Habré terminado. I will have finished my book. So we can use it by using days or hours as a reference, not having a verb in the action that happens later. So by 7, Sarah will have already arrived at the station. A las 7, Sara habrá llegado a la estación. If we were to use the subjunctive for the other, for the event that happens in second place, it will be something like that. Cuando Juan llegue, that's llegar in the subjunctive, yo ya habré terminado, yo ya habré hecho esta otra cosa. So here's the conjugation of the future perfect for the verb manejar, to drive. Habré manejado, I will have driven. You will have driven, habrás manejado. He or she will have driven, él, ella, usted habrá manejado. We will have driven, habremos manejado. You all will have driven, habréis manejado. And they will have driven, habrán manejado. So it translates as I will have driven, you will have driven, etc. And it says there is a fourth compound tense called pretérito anterior. You might find this one in conjugation charts, and it goes hube manejado, hubiste manejado, hubo manejado. So it looks similar to the pluscuamperfecto, but it looks like we are conjugating haber in the pretérito perfecto tense instead of the imperfect, and that's exactly what we are doing. But this tense is in disuse, like nobody uses it. It's like archaic, so we can perfectly ignore it. We never use it when speaking. It's even awkward to use it. Sometimes in writing, some people use it, but even in writing, it is not common at all. So we can safely ignore this tense. Instead, we'll use the pretérito pluscuamperfecto that we know. Yo había manejado. So let's talk about using the compound tenses with the direct object pronouns and the indirect object pronouns. It says, we said earlier that we can never break the verbal nucleus. We cannot put anything between the verb haber and the participle. So we will always have the pronouns just before the verbal nucleus, but not in between. So Juan has given María a rose. Juan ha dado una rosa a María. Juan le ha dado una rosa. Or Juan se la ha dado. We can't have anything between the a and the dado. So, ha dado. So, Juan se la ha dado or Juan le ha dado una rosa. Alberto had visited his aunt in Lima. Alberto had visited her. Alberto había visitado a su tía en Lima. Alberto la había visitado. Nuria has not bought a car. Nuria has not bought it. Nuria no ha comprado un carro. Nuria no lo ha comprado. And it says compound tenses are not considered a two-verb construction. We do not have the option of placing the pronoun at the end of the second verb, right? With the present progressive, for example, for like I am saying it, we can say lo estoy diciendo or estoy diciéndolo. With these compound tenses, we don't have the second option. They have to go before. So, I have said it, lo he dicho. That's the only option. However, on the other hand, if we combine compound tenses with progressive tenses, then we do have both options. So Juan has been writing his book all day. Juan ha estado escribiendo su libro todo el día. Two options. Juan lo ha estado escribiendo or Juan ha estado escribiéndolo. But that's only because we are using a star plus the gerund. So Ana had been explaining everything to Javier. Two options. Ana le había estado explicando todo. Ana se lo había estado explicando. And the other option, Ana había estado explicándole todo. Or Ana había estado explicándoselo. So let's do this exercise together. Let's translate these sentences. So I have visited him many times. Lo he visitado muchas veces. And that's the only option. We don't have a progressive tense in here, so the pronoun has to go before the verb. Lo he visitado muchas veces. I have never bought this book or that book. I have never bought it. Nunca he comprado ese libro. Nunca lo he comprado. And that's the only option. Have you met my sister Mary? Have you met her? ¿Has conocido a mi hermana Mary? ¿La has conocido? I have read them. Los he leído. I have never drunk 3 liters of water in one day. I have never drunk them. Nunca he bebido 3 litros de agua en un día. Nunca los he bebido. She has not called him yet. Ella no lo ha llamado todavía. We have never worn it. Nunca la hemos llevado. They have always loved them. Siempre las han amado. I had already sold my car. I had already sold it. Yo ya había vendido mi carro o mi coche. Yo ya lo había vendido. Have you called her? ¿La has llamado? We've been helping her. And in this case, since we have a been helping, this is a progressive tense plus a compound tense. Now we have two options. La hemos estado ayudando or hemos estado ayudándola. And let's try to complete the pronouns in here. Yo he explicado el problema a María. Yo le he explicado el problema. Yo se lo he explicado. Nunca te he dicho esto. Nunca te lo he dicho. ¿Me has contado la historia? Me la has contado. Sara ha regalado una flor a María. Sara le ha regalado una flor. Sara se la ha regalado. Nunca me has mostrado tu casa. Nunca me la has mostrado. Ya te había enviado la carta. Ya te la había enviado. Nunca me habías dado un regalo antes. Nunca me lo habías dado. Javier ha hecho una pregunta a Nancy. Javier le ha hecho una pregunta. Javier se la ha hecho. And we have to translate these sentences. So, I have been telling you stories. I have been telling them to you. Yo te he estado contando historias. Yo te las he estado contando. And we have another option. Yo he estado contándote historias. Yo he estado contándotelas. I have been explaining the idea to her. I have been explaining it to her. He estado explicándole la idea. So that's option number 2. He estado explicándosela. And option number 1. Le he estado explicando la idea. Se la he estado explicando. She has been showing her the new apartment. She's been showing it to her. Opción 1. Ella le ha estado enseñando el nuevo apartamento. Ella se lo ha estado enseñando o mostrando. Opción 2. Ella ha estado mostrándole el nuevo apartamento. Ella ha estado mostrándoselo o enseñándoselo. They have been giving her excuses all the time. They have been giving them to her. Ellos le han estado dando excusas todo este tiempo, o todo el tiempo, todo el rato. Ellos se las han estado dando. Y opción 2, ellos han estado dándole excusas todo este rato. Ellos han estado dándoselas. And I have been teaching the kids English all this time. I have been teaching them English. So, he estado enseñando inglés a los chicos todo este rato, todo este tiempo. Les he estado enseñando inglés. Opción número 2, he estado enseñándoles inglés. So here is what I was saying at the beginning. Let's look at this thing about the verb haber and the name of the tenses. So if you look up the conjugation for the verb haber, you will see that it gives you the following. The present tense for haber is he, has, ha, hemos, habéis, han. And the pretérito imperfecto tense is había, habías, había, habíamos, habíais, habían. The thing is, we can't really use haber in the present or in the pretérito imperfecto. Haber is only used for building the compound tenses. So even though this is technically the present and the imperfect of haber, it's not really that. And basically, let's actually read this. So actually, we never conjugate the verb haber without anything right after. We do not say yo he or ellos habían. We use it as an auxiliary verb in the compound tenses. Yo he cantado, ellos habían cantado. And when we do this, we no longer say that we are conjugating haber in the present tense and in the imperfect tense respectively. We say that we are conjugating cantar and comer in the pretérito perfecto compuesto and the pretérito pluscuamperfecto tense respectively. So, yo he cantado or yo he comido, for I have eaten. Yes, we are conjugating haber in the present, but we are really conjugating comer in the pretérito perfecto compuesto. And that includes haber in the present tense. And for I had eaten, yo había comido. Yes, we are conjugating haber in the pretérito imperfecto tense. Había, habías, había. But what we are really doing is we are conjugating comer in the pretérito pluscuamperfecto tense. Yo había comido, tú habías comido. And yes, that includes haber in the pretérito imperfecto tense. So that's it for today. I hope this was helpful and I will see you in the next video.